why it could.
Back in the driver's seat, and it feels so good. Not to steal from my boy Xavier Woods. Yeah, I intended that to rhyme. But, Internet! Don't you dare be sour! Clap for your boy, the old dirty demon, and feel the power! It's part 2 of my list of wrestlers to watch out for. Yes, it is. I feel like when it's all said and done, the man that we know as Chris Jericho will have an argument, a strong argument, for being one of the greatest, if not the greatest, in-ring competitors of all time in the whole history of wrestling. And I'm going foreign and domestic because Chris Jericho, the Lionheart, has had to wrestle from coast to coast with taters and toast. He has had to have gone literally intercontinental to hone his craft to what it is today. But my earliest memories of Chris Jericho is most likely after he came back from Japan and got booked to WCW. You know, that's when he came out and he was repping, he was putting it down as a Lionheart. Had the long hair going on, had the little silver jacket, had the moxie. He had the Ralphus. Freaking Ralphus. He had the sign that he would hold up himself, calling himself a conspiracy victim. And I've heard podcasts, I've heard him talk about it. That was him lashing out at what he saw as them holding him back. Stop me if you heard that story before. In fact, don't stop me because you had heard that story before. I've probably told that story with one of my picks already, and I'm probably going to tell that story with a couple of more of my picks. We don't know. Well, technically I know, but you won't know until later. But that's neither here nor there. We're here to talk about the goddamn Lionheart. We're here to talk about the Ayatollah of rock and roller. We're here to talk about the guy who, upon his arrival at WWE, was given enough stroke to call the daughter of the owner of the company, I'll hopefully get this right, an ugly, disgusting, brutal, bottom-feeding trash bag hoe, just to get a rise out of the crowd. They gave him a free pass to do that. Vince McMahon suspended Titus O'Neil for touching him at the end of a Raw broadcast. So you know, Vinnie Mac and the suits over there at whatever the hell the address is in Greenwich, Connecticut, where the WWE corporate office is, plays their damn favorites. And despite the fact that they barely ever let Chris Jericho win a championship, unless you count that one time that he did beat Triple H for the belt, and then they kind of rescinded it like that same night, if not the next night. I count that. So he did win the company belt. Eat it. Stroke for days is what I'm trying to say Chris Jericho had. And just to go back to his WCW days where he was pretty pissed off at not being utilized to the best of his potential. If only I had $1 for every wrestler that I've talked about that had that happen to him. Man, I'd have a couple of dollars. But those are still probably my most fun. Well, I can't even say that. Because like every place he's been, he's sure to give you something. You know? Like back in the WCW days when he would feud with a no-show Goldberg and pretty much just call him out his name. You know what, Goldberg? You're not even gold. You're green. So come out here, Greenberg. and he was unofficially the one who ended the streak because he beat Goldberg a couple of weeks by way of count out because Goldberg never came out to answer the 10 count when he told the referee to ring the bell. Fun stuff. Fun stuff. And just the energy from his matches. Like, the stuff that he's able to do in the ring. Pretty good stuff. Yeah, but then, you know, one of my favorite, we'll say, not often talked about Chris Jericho moments is when Mr. Perfect had to adjust his body to catch him in a catch him in a botched lion salt. Yes, I've been drinking, but I'm an adult. I'm allowed. That was pretty fun. But I mean, his WWE debut. They don't have him debut against anybody. They could have had him debut against freaking Gangrel. They could have had him debut against a Triple H. That wasn't fully realized. You know, he was still playing grab ass with Shawn Michaels in China, in DX, and all other stuff around the time. Probably. I feel pretty confident that that's what was going on at the time. But no, they had Chris Jericho in like 1998 or so debut against The Rock. And they had a verbal tete-a-tete. And at that time, The Rock was probably the best shit talker on the mic on that active roster. I feel like Dusty Rhodes could probably shit talk him under the table at that time and at any time. But they started Chris Jericho off hot. They started Chris Jericho off in a way that would guarantee that you would see him, that you would know who he is, and you would just know whether or not he had it. The thing is, Chris Jericho always had it, and I don't have a reason for why other companies weren't able to see it. Maybe they didn't want to see it. Maybe, as Breezy would say, they're stuck in their big man shit. They're stuck in their big man fetishes. I feel like Paul White as the Giant, the competitor who would go to the WWE and be known as the Big Show. Spoilers. Probably had more title matches, if not reigns, than Chris frickin' Jericho, which is a travesty. Big Show, if nothing else, was a sideshow attraction. Chris Jericho, anytime he stepped foot in that ring, whether he was tag teaming up with the Big Show himself, tag teaming with, I want to say he tagged with Shawn Michaels. I feel like he tagged with everybody. But most especially when he tagged and won the tag titles in a ladder match with Chris Benoit. Chris Jericho was the main fucking attraction. Raw was Jericho. And so was Nitro. And so was Thunder. Any show Chris Jericho was his show. The WWE may not have recognized it. WCW may not have recognized it. Hell, the promotions in Japan that Jericho wrestled in before probably didn't realize it, but I guarantee you they don't know. Especially out in Japan. They had Jericho at the top of the year go up against Kenny Omega. And not too long ago, they had him go up against and win the IC belt from Tetsuya Naito. New Japan understands. Oh, we got Jericho. We got Bank. And it took WWE too long to realize that. Another fun fact about Chris Jericho and his stint at WWE, in this era of digital marks, where everybody's spoiling everything, Chris Jericho is able to keep his returns under wraps until they happen. And to my knowledge, he is the only in-ring competitor. He is the only person affiliated with any wrestling promotion who is able to do that. Chris Jericho has an eye, he has a mind, a body, and a soul. Enough for this business that he put over a piece of stinking paper. And that's how I'm going to end it. Well, that's not completely how I'm going to end it. Chris Jericho, the Ayatollah of rock and rolla, your new hero, your party host and the most charismatic superstar ever to enter your living room via a television screen. The camera's not on me, but I'm pouting. I was looking for a clicker pen, but I can't find any. But I'm just gonna snap my fingers and say, you just made my list! Now continue to break them walls down, Daddy. Break the walls down! Who's next? Whoa, hold on now. Where y'all think y'all going? I ain't finished. Especially since I got another one of these in the chamber. Now, when the crew was putting these lists together, we were comparing notes. And I kind of feel like the only reason Tetsuya Naito and Seth Rollins made Breeze lose list was because they were on my list first. I ain't mad. I mean, we all ain't got nothing but respect for the people that we got on our lists. But I had Seth Rollins and Naito on my list for reasons that may or may not be different from the reasons why Breeze had them on his. And if y'all indulge me with the goddamn ice cream truck in the fucking background, it's nighttime. Who's having ice cream at night? Y'all better not stop me. Y'all better not stop here. Just keep that thing going. We're live. I'm in the middle of my fourth beer and y'all harshing my damn buzz. And I'm trying to entertain these nice folks. Sorry about y'all. About that, y'all. Now, as I was saying, before I was so rudely and coldly, get it, because ice cream is cold, interrupted, Tetsuya Naito and Seth Rollins made my list as well. I ain't gonna take up too much of your time, but I did want to get into why they made my list. I'll get into the whole Seth Rollins things first. Y'all know him as Tyler Black, won a little championship out in Ring of Honor. You know, did all the stuff that he was able to do before he came into the WWE. And despite the fact that he followed the theme of so many people on my list, he was one of the few exceptions in that the WWE kept him in the spotlight. They kept him in the title picture. They kept him, you know, up top for the most. His exposure level was much higher in comparison to everybody else that I was talking about. And you see his work ethic. You see what he does in the ring. That speaks for itself. That more than explains why the WWE is making him a high priority. And yeah, he's been inducted into the Injury Era Hall of Fame a couple of times. Thank you, Samoa Joe. And thank you, Seth Rollins, yourself. But whenever he's in the ring, he's a force to be reckoned with. They let him legit break John Cena's nose. That was just like fun to see. Or interesting to see, I guess. Because they still kind of kept the match going. So, tip of the cap to John Cena for trying to make a claim for his toughness. But we're not talking about John Cena, if you can imagine that. We're talking about Seth frickin' Rollins, the architect. What else do they call him? We'll still stick with architect until I remember it. What else they call him? But yeah, dude, Seth Rollins can freaking go. There's a reason why he was a cover athlete with WWE 18 last year. There's a reason why they call him Seth freaking Rollins. He's carrying that brand on his back. If Seth Rollins was on SmackDown, Raw would not be watchable at all. Like, at all. Like, dude can turn a feud with anybody into must-see TV. I enjoyed the match that he and The Miz put on for the Intercontinental Championship a few pay-per-views back. Kind of want to say that was like at WrestleMania. Probably not. But, damn it. Seth Rollins is just a joy to watch perform in the ring. And I feel like if the WWE does not do right by him, he might follow the path of like Cody Rhodes or something. And get hooked up at some place that has like that talent share initiative, and once he gets his first taste of Japan, or when Japan gets their first taste of him, it'll be on. Kenny Omega will have to keep his head on a swivel.
Seth Rollins ever goes overseas. Speaking of overseas, we want to get into what I like about Tetsuya Naito. You know, I was able to see some of his matches. Brother can go. Brother can work. Like, just his abilities, bruh, they speak for himself. They speak for himself so much that Chris Jericho wanted to see what all the fuss is about. Chris Jericho, still high on the hog of beating Kenny Omega at, was it Wrestle Kingdom or whatever their big New Year's wrestling bash pay-per-view was. That wasn't enough. He saw Tetsuya Naito and was like, I want a piece of him too. And a piece of him he did get. But Naito didn't go quietly into that good night. No. He put up his dukes and he had himself a fight. Chris Jericho only works with the top people nowadays, since it's more or less a blank check for the guy. But enough about his present day. Tell y'all a little something about the man's past. Tetsuya Naito used to wrestle out there in Mexico. I'm sure some of y'all knew that. Good old Consejo Mundial de Lucha Libre, the CMLL. That's what he was hanging and banging. The people like Dos Caras, Hector Gaza, La Sombra, and every other excuse for me to speak and say things in a Spanish accent. Okay, here's one more. He eventually joined up with a clique called Los Ingobernables. Yeah, I looked that up. That means the ungovernable. Probably like direct translation. Basically the unfuckwitables on a diplomatic context. And they let him rock so much that when he went back to New Japan, not only did he take that name with him, Los Ingobernables de Japón, y'all seen that around a bit, but he also took a little bit of shade that the fans kept throwing at him, what with him being Japanese and all, and the eyes thing. Like, y'all have seen Naito do the taunt, the abre los ojos, the open your eyes thing. He was able to flip that negative into such a super positive, super duper McNuper positive. He's got Japanese people out there doing it. Notable Japanese people, baseball players. Shinosuke Ogasawara, stand up, take a bow, let people know you're in the building. And member of idol group AKB48, Yuki Kashiwagi. My dear, please stand up, take a bow, and be noted yourself. He's out there turning negatives into positives, putting all of the work in the ring, somewhat of a social ambassador, I guess you can consider it, outside of the ring, and I feel like he's only scratching the surface. The sky's the limit for Tetsuya Naito, and I gotta tell you, my neck's gonna be hurting from me looking up all the time, because I gotta see what he's pointing at when he does a little taunt. Also, another fun fact, just like Okada, Naito is in the Yakuza 6 game. Pretty fun boss fight. And, I think that's probably the first time I've heard him speak, and he dropped that tranquilo. I'm like, whoa, where does Spanish come from? Now I know. And it's fun to watch. Seth Rollins, Naito, y'all on my list too. And so concludes my bonus features. Are we still going to play the music that we had before, or are we playing something else? We're playing something else? Oh, okay. Fourth wall break. That was your cue, monkey in the seat, monkey in the truck. So do your magic, and we will catch y'all on the flip. Peace! I remember seeing this one Shelton Benjamin match. I think it was him and Chris Jericho. Like, Jericho's about to put the walls of Jericho on him, and Shelton Benjamin reversed it in the most innovative, only Shelton Benjamin can do this type of shit kind of reversal. It looked like he just, I don't know, activated his core muscles, put them into overdrive, and used his legs to flip Jericho over as Jericho was trying to put Shelton Benjamin in a Boston Crab. That's athletic as fuck.
I've seen him springboard off of the ring ropes to blockbuster somebody off of his tag team partner. We'll say it was Charlie Hodge, since he's like tagged with him more than anybody else. I've seen him do incredible, literally game-changing things in ladder matches. Game-changing, like literal game-changing, in a sense that 2 years down the line, Yuke's Japan or whoever was doing the WWE 2K or SmackDown vs. Raw games are putting the things that Shelton Benjamin did in real life into their video games. Like, come on. You don't do that for just anybody. And I've been a pretty big Shelton Benjamin fan ever since he was part of the world's greatest tag team with Charlie Haas and was on Team Angle with Kurt Angle. They didn't have, well, I don't even know how you'd have been able to watch like the OVW dark matches or whatever. But if I were able to see those, you know what I would have been able to see? Him win a tag team championship with Brock Lesnar. This is true. Look it up. I got my sources. They'll be more than happy to share. But Shelton Benjamin's career is just not necessarily storybook, but it's something. It's deserving of a couple of pages in the WWE or sports entertainment or pro wrestling omnibus. Just off of athletic ability alone, your man makes a Power Ranger look crippled with all of the stuff that he's able to do in the ring. All of the crazy stuff from the ladder matches. Like one of my favorite ladder match spots that he did, you had a prone ladder that like somebody must have just pushed down and is laying on the ring ropes, right? Just like dangling, just hanging there. Not supported by nothing, completely closed. Everybody else is kind of near where the ladder is jutting out of the ring. And they're fighting, they're doing a little rugby scrum, a little mosh pit or whatever. Shelton Benjamin sees all of this. He runs along that ladder that's laying on the rope, supported by nothing. Gets to where the top of the ladder is. Jumps off of it. Does a senton into that crowd of people. 2 years later, you're able to do that in the game. I remember another Shelton Benjamin ladder spot. Hopefully I'm remembering it correctly, because I ain't seen it in a while. There's like one or two people up on... No, there's like one person climbing up on a ladder to try to get the briefcase. Or maybe this is for a belt. Either way. So you have that one person on that ladder that's open. Did he springboard off of the ring ropes? Or maybe he jumped off of another ladder to get onto that other ladder? Either way, your man was flying through the air, as Booker T would say, with the greatest of ease. Like, it was like watching a little kid with crazy athleticism and crazy hops and just crazy upper body strength play around on a jungle gym for the first time. It's like watching somebody from Jackie Chan's stunt team at a construction site, watching Shelton Benjamin do all of the stuff that he was doing. It's like this could have been either a triple threat match or maybe a tag team match or something. And I remember him doing a springboard blockbuster. He just jumped from the outer apron into the inside of the ring, off of the ropes, and pulled off a blockbuster over somebody else. So he, oh, man, I could nerd out on Shelton Benjamin's athletic exploits for the longest. I could do it forever. Unfortunately, I can't geek out on his title reigns as much, because in the WWE they only gave him the mid-card buffet Intercontinental and US Championship. I think like a lot of people, if not all of the WWE competitors or the people who have wrestled in WWE on my list, have gotten that treatment at some point in their careers. Probably for the majority of their careers. Either way, Shelton Benjamin was able to leave and go to, I want to say, Ring of Honor. If it wasn't Ring of Honor, it was some other promotion. He won their belt in like less than a year. I was happy for the guy. I'm like, man, I wish I could have seen that on TV, seeing Shelton Benjamin with a company's title. Then he goes over to New Japan, has all kinds of crazy matches, with the likes of Shinsuke Nakamura. He reconnects with another WWE expat in Montel Vontavious Porter. They fought and balled hard as adversaries, then tag team together, wrecking all of the shit in the world. Like, Shelton Benjamin would be an asset to any wrestling promotion. I don't know what the WWE promised him to get him back the second time, but I know that I don't want to say lost his step, but maybe he's playing it safe, because when he was originally announced to come back, he did have an injury, and I definitely see the change in the ring. He's kind of like Larry Johnson for the Knicks when he left the Hornets. He left with back problems, and he stopped being like an in the paint kind of guy and was working on the perimeter stuff. So Shelton Benjamin is that in reverse. You could look at it that way. He went from working the perimeter, all of the high flying stuff. He went from Jeff Hardy to being a Matt Hardy, a much more aggro Matt Hardy. Because out there in Japan, I'm pretty sure they throw potatoes on the reg. And I'm sure Shelton Benjamin has stiffed a couple of people with those knee strikes that he would give them. Because the brother's got a lot of power. And all I'm saying is I will keep watching in WWE insofar as Shelton Benjamin is involved in a match somehow. And the sooner they put a title match in front of him, the happier that I will be. And I'm hoping the sooner y'all get to see Shelton Benjamin, the gold standard, unleashed. Cross the fingers. Put your hands together. Give Goku all your spirit energy. Let's just make this thing a reality. Let's just make it happen. Free Shelton Benjamin. Shelton Benjamin deserves better, and I hope that sooner or later he gets it. Ain't no stopping me now. Dun, 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 dun.
He is the baddest motherfucker that hell had ever seen.
Colonel motherfucking Steak Meaner. Holla at your boy. I'll get money.
He trained like a beast.
Y'all gonna have to kick me out of this bitch. I'm having the time of my life.
He was so mad, he even called me the devil himself.
You dead nigga. This is how you break your foot off in a motherfucker's ass. Yeah. You go-headed nigga folks are trying to swarm on a nigga, huh? And you just got a two-piece combo and a biscuit, huh? I got 3 stick nunchucks. Gotcha, nigga.
Stick leader, your heart of darkness has earned you a trip back. You have my blessings to exact vengeance on the Freeman family and to spread ignorance and chaos in the black community. They will be no match for you.
Hell ain't shit. I'm gonna get you, Freeman!